Alright, we should be able to move on to having enemies now that can attack back. It's kind of a lot. I'm just going to rush through it all. Um, we're going to review just real quick exactly what that event begin play that I have set here. Most of this stuff is temporary. We're not going to need any of that. That's really just having them pop up in the air and drop down and whatnot. The one thing that I do here that's slightly of note is that I have the enemies constantly looking at Alice, just so that they're looking forward, facing him. And that's just finding a look at rotation, just taking the yaw, and that's taking it from the player character. I only have one, and themselves. And I do that every 0.1. I don't have it to tick. I hate using tick. I want to make sure that this runs very smoothly and easily on every computer. And this is a lot slower than tick, 0.1. Only time I use tick is in my player character currently, under the camera settings. All that kind of stuff I find is just easier to use in tick. But other than that, I don't do it. So that'll have them just constantly looking at Alice, unless I tell it to ignore it, like I had in that branch earlier. That ignore. From there, what I have is a grand reset. It's going to be a lot like we had set up in Alice. It's going to be using a lot of the same similar ideas. And sure enough, this resets much like that, where attacking is no longer happening. They're no longer being hit. They're no longer ignoring look. They're no longer ignoring seek. Just kind of resetting all the factors back to kind of default, and then saying, go do the one thing you should do, which is always go seek Alice. And that is going to always go try and attack her. With the seek Alice, as long as it's not ignored, as long as they're not dead, it's as simple as just finding a attack distance. This attack distance is set here in my parent is here in my parent blueprint. The variable's here, but it's actually set, of course, in the child blueprint. If you don't understand that, go check the video right before. And that attack distance for this particular character is 400. And as long as they are above that attack distance, then they're going to AI move to. Now with AI move to, what you're going to need to have that work is you're absolutely going to need a nav mesh bounds volume. And what that is just simply a volume that you set down, much like a post-process volume. You'll find that in your modes, which is next to that paint, landscape, foliage, geometry kind of thing. That's going to be there in your modes under volumes. And you'll just simply place whatever size you need your nav mesh volumes. This is just hitting P to turn it on and off. And in my game, I'm lucky enough to always have nice flat open areas, so it's never going to be too complicated. In fact, that's already going to get probably removed later. They won't be able to get stuck on too much collision or geometry. If you have a first-person shooter, obviously it gets quite a bit more complicated, but luckily in my game I'm able to keep it very simple. So with keeping it simple, they simply move to the attack distance, and this is -20. It's one of the few times you see me not use a variable in the parent class, but that's simply because it's kind of a math thing. Anything with math, I'm able to set 10 up is still 10 up no matter what. And just to make sure they don't land exactly at the 0 mark and get a little confused. I just -20 guarantee that they're there. Once they get there, they find a new place to stand. What I have there is, this could be set a little differently, but I already had these sockets set. I have 5 different sockets coming off of Alice in her east, northeast, north, northwest, and west. And they have 1 second that they try to move to it. And that's just to guarantee that most of the attacks are coming from the front of the player, or at least very close to, so I can guarantee that my player always sees it coming. This way it's not unfair getting hit from someone a million miles away. They can't see it on screen. At that point, it'll go back to seek Alice after it gets that 1 second to try and move to those sockets, or at least within a certain radius of that socket. 100 looks like. So just somewhere around there. We'll do 100 Unreal units. From there, it does the seek Alice again, and at this point, we most certainly will be within the attack distance unless Alice has run away. From there, we check other attackers. That's just something I use in my game to guarantee that not everyone's attacking all at once. It's just checking everyone to see if they have the attacking flag on. But more times than not, it's the one person is able to attack. If we have only one character, then sure enough, they're going to attack Alice. From there, what we do is we get within a swing distance. Once again, this was set as some characters have a sword, so their swing distance may be shorter than this radius over here. I may not need this. I could probably simplify a lot of the stuff I'm doing here, but it's just kind of how I'm going about it right now. They get within that range. They are now attacking, and they pick a random attack, 1 through 5 or 0 through 4, same thing. And these animations are set up in the child blueprint because they're obviously going to be different for different characters. And I just simply set up their animations. See, he's only got 2, and I just repeat them over and over again down this line right now. And majority of the work then is set in the attack notifies, the anim notifies, just to kind of guarantee that things happen exactly when I want them to. And that's as simple as what we set up before, where we start a trace, and she's the only pawn I have in my game. All these guys are physics, bodies, and Vorpals are vehicles, and I explained that earlier in other videos while I'm doing that. I then simply turn off the in-trace, and all this is coming from anim notifies. And from there, it's as simple as what we did once before, where the collision box, once I guarantee that it's the player character that we're hitting, and I don't even need this check, she's the only pawn, it's the only thing they're going to hit, but I have it in for now. And then I set up a function in Alice in the my character blueprint, so not in this one, not in the enemy blueprint, but over there. I call that after casting to it, where it finds the enemy damage. The enemy damage is set differently per character. The Kindle guy takes out 10 when he hits you. Obviously bigger, stronger enemies may take out more, and luckily this variable can be changed in the child blueprint. So she knows how much damage to lose. From there you minus it, just like we did earlier with the enemies when they take damage. The damage type, this is to let her know whether or not she's going to fall back when she gets hit, or whether or not she's going to take a step back, or if she's going to fly across screen. And that can be set per attack, either right before the attack happens or in the anim notify, basically wherever I want it to be done, and who was attacking her. And this is useful for turning Alice to look at the person who attacked her, or if she's countering, she needs to know who's the person she's countering. And from there, that really should basically do it. You have now a person who's going to move closer to Alice and hit them in the face, or go up to your character and hit them in the face. I'm sure you don't have an Alice in your game. Well, maybe you do. And then we will show that off here. We'll just go through these steps once again. So right there, and that's the launch, and he has the reset right there. The game's paused right now. So that hit the reset, so at this point they'll seek Alice. That's this person coming up. And in a second they're going to take a left or a right, and they have probably a north or an east socket, and that was that lefter right there. They took a right to get in front of Alice, and once they hit that place, that person's going to attack. They finally hit their point, they're within range, and now they're going to attack Alice. And there it is, the collision set, top left corner. You saw 90, that was her life going down by 10, and sure enough they're within range again, so they don't need to move, they just go ahead and try and attack again, and rinse, wash, repeat. At this point you should have an enemy who will attack your characters. It's that simple. After this I think we'll move on to doing the lock-on. I've had the most questions about that. But if you have any questions, let me know, or if I skipped anything in this video, let me know. That'll do it for today. Thank you very much.